Throughout the history of television, a lot of change has led the industry to where it is today. We've watched before our eyes literally as giant projection boxes turned into 4K flat screens. And through all of that, talk shows have continued to persevere and demand the attention of national audiences. One area of the genre, specifically late-night shows, have seen some of the most famous comedians of their generations become hosts. It's widely known how The Daily Show introduced the world to John Stewart, Stephen Colbert, John Oliver, Samantha Bee, Steve Carrell, Ed Helms, recently Hassan Minhaj, and many others. The Tonight Show is hosted by Jimmy Fallon, and previously the position was held by Jay Leno, and before that Johnny Carson, both legendary comedians of their own generations. The Late Show is now hosted by Colbert and previously had David Letterman at the helm. Late night the show is hosted by Seth Meyers, a previous lead writer for SNL, and before him it was again Jimmy Fallon. And from Carson to then Conan, Leno and Letterman, to then Stewart, Fallon, Kimmel, Meyers, Corden, Colbert and Noah, late night shows have seen a lot of famous comedians. But don't even try to compare Jimmy Fallon or James Corden or any of these new guys to Carson, Leno, Letterman, or Conan, right? Right? Are they right? Was Johnny Carson that much better than Seth Meyers or James Corden? Was Letterman that much better than Stephen Colbert? Many people will argue that the late-night talk shows today are just full of political stances or stale reposts of jokes or repetitive formulas and even unfunny hosts. Jimmy Fallon.
You look beautiful. Welcome back to the show.
Here we go again.
No. This is very exciting for me. I'm glad that you're here, and I'm glad you came back. Because last time...
Oh, God. I so didn't want to come back.
Is one host who I actually haven't mentioned yet at all. He's appeared in over 2,000 live episodes and is widely forgotten completely by the fans of late night. Of course, that's Craig Ferguson. Craig Ferguson was the host of The Late Late Show on CBS from 2005 till 2014. Now hosted by James Corden, Craig used to come on every night after David Letterman, and growing up on the East Coast, that meant his show started at 12:37 in the morning, and on school nights. People like me barely tuned in long enough to see Craig Ferguson. And why should we? Who was this Craig Ferguson guy with no previous American fame and a thick Scottish accent trying to tell monologues?
That's more than enough. Any more would sound completely genuine. And we don't want that. Not in Hollywood. I wouldn't recognize it.
I'm your host, TV's Craig Ferguson. Please sit down, relax, unbutton your pants, cover yourself in margarine. Enjoy yourself. It is a great day for America today, and I'll tell you why. No Americans have been attacked by pirates today. And it's only 12:30 at night, and this is when they do their dirty deeds. So, you know, be careful. Keep your hands on your doubloons. Because that's what they're after. They're after your doubloons.
Thank you, everybody. Quietly now. Quietly. Please, that's enough. Thank you for your completely genuine enthusiasm, which it seems to be... I can't seem to shut you up. Oh. I don't know when I became cynical. Maybe it's when I found out you give the audience free chocolate. Please find him funny. He's all we have. All we have is this immigrant and some chocolate.
During his time on air, he would go on to host through the major late-night controversy surrounding Conan, Leno, and NBC, as well as through the rise of Jimmy Fallon and the new wave of hosts. But what made The Late Late Show with Craig Ferguson just so great, so much better than the rest, that it's infuriating to see Craig often left out in the conversation of best late-night hosts? First and foremost, the main thing that set Craig apart from everyone else was his uncanny ability to interview others in the most natural, genuine ways. he's able to consistently bring out the best comedy and storytelling his guests had to offer. He's able to laugh when appropriately, Jimmy Fallon, but more importantly, because he's so charming, when you combine that with his deep level of sarcasm and abilities to improvise, he's actually able to get his guests to relax and decompress on a level that others simply couldn't. This then leads them to showing a truer side of themselves than what we are used to seeing with these cookie-cutter corporate sponsorship interviews. He's actually credited with giving some high-profile comedians their funniest interviews ever, including Will Ferrell and Robin Williams.
Welcome back. My first guest tonight is a comedy icon. He is a legend. He's adorable. He's fantastic. I'm fond of him. He's an Oscar-winning actor. The beautiful Robin Williams. You look sensational. Look at you. You got that fancy shoes. No laces?
None at all.
No laces in your shoes?
I'm an older man now. It's much easier. Velcro.
What is this madness? You can't walk around like that. What if you have to do something quickly?
There you do it slowly.
I've been married. I'm on my third.
On your third?
Yes.
Yeah, 3 strikes, you're out. That's it.
Yeah. I wouldn't do it again. I see it.
Oh, if you do it again, you have to give up a body part. That's. How many times you been married, Bill?
In fact, I wouldn't have done 3, but it was just I met this person and went, well, okay, but only this one.
Yeah.
Which I believe that's the way you're meant to approach it the first time.
Yeah. Only this one, maybe.
Maybe.
Do you take this woman as often as possible?
Yeah.
Oh, we went to Paris for the honeymoon. That was.
Ooh, that's nice.
I had the honeymoon suite at Notre Dame.
That must have been a surprise.
Yeah, come up here. We go right now. Don't be afraid. If you need anything, just ring the bell.
Very romantic.
Restaurants in Paris are wonderful. I went to a tiny little restaurant. It had 5 tables. At one of the tables, there were 2 couples and a cat sitting eating dinner. Even the cat's going, try the mouse. It's fabulous.
He says, hi, Craig and Robin. That's amazing that they knew that you were going to be here. I didn't know you were going to be here, but look, here it is. Right there. Craig and Robin, right there.
Addendum.
I made friends with a guy sitting next to me at a hockey game recently and exchanged numbers to hang out.
The old pucksucker guy.
Yeah. Is there anything wrong with a man? There's nothing wrong with it.
Not at all.
Nothing wrong with it.
Yeah.
If you're gay, you're gay. That's cool. That's cool. That's cool. There's no right or wrong to it.
Now, why is Craig able to do this? The answer is that his combination of body language and real language give off the feeling to his guests that he could easily be their longtime best friend. This allows Craig to get into a rhythm of being deeply sarcastic, while his guests are helpless to do anything but enjoy themselves. He's able to just bring it out of others in a way that Jimmy Fallon simply will never be able to do.
It was just for nothing. And I give this guy money, I don't have enough. I said, can I get change from one guy? He gives me change. And then I give him the change, and I turn around, the guy who gave me change is like, this. And I was just like, you know what, here. I just gave him all my money. I went home. I Googled belly diseases.
Unbelievable. You're fine. More with Ryan Gosling when we get back, you guys.
With Craig expertly picking up on the genuine, nonverbal signals of his guests, he was able to constantly improvise situations in the goofiest ways imaginable. Regularly, Craig would go off script, improvising entire interviews with his guests when he knew they were also comfortable. His combination of charm, pure sarcasm, and genuineness truly brought out the best in others, and this makes him the best interviewer of all late-night hosts. The next reason why Craig Ferguson is the best late-night host of all time is that he was able to carry the show virtually on his own without a live on-air sidekick. So while Conan has Andy, Jimmy Kimmel has Guillermo, Jimmy Fallon has Steve Higgins, Letterman had Paul Schaefer, even Leno and Colbert are paired with the leader of their musical bands respectively. But Craig Ferguson? He had puppets. So with no human sidekick, Craig's cold opens started to feature puppets, and by 2010, Jeff Peterson began making regular appearances as his non-human, puppet-like robot skeleton sidekick. While every other late-night talk show had some sort of human sidekick capable of full conversation and more in-depth comedic relief, Jeff was limited to short pre-recorded statements. This always forced Craig to stay on top of his game, making sure his sarcasm and charm came off appropriately even when talking to puppets. Other late-night shows heavily relied on commentary, sketches, and even short films featuring their sidekicks. But Craig Ferguson? He had puppets. And his comedic relationship to his puppets was so strong that the show never really needed to bring on any human sidekick. Craig was simply capable of carrying a late-night show all by himself. Starting in 2011, Jeff began to be voiced live in studio, but he was still an animatronic robot with a very limited vocabulary and range of comedic abilities. Then there was Secretariat, the horse puppet, who was also first introduced in 2010. As a regular on the show, Secretariat would go on to be a major part of many sketches and short films. One of the more famous sketches included Secretariat traveling to Jimmy Fallon's offices, and this was of course to deliver a Christmas present after both Jimmy and Craig fought for the open spot on The Tonight Show. Imagining one of these current late-night hosts without their sidekick is difficult, as they are an ingrained part of the show, from the marketing and advertising, to the actual runtime of the show, filling up conversation, interviews or shorts, and much more. And lastly, what made Craig Ferguson the best of all time was his ability to never get stale. Avid watchers of his show knew that he loved to improvise live comedy routines, make little continuity jokes that only his true fans would catch, and never really stay on a single topic for too long. Most of the late-night talk shows these days are essentially the same jokes, repeated night after night, week after week. But Craig looked right past that and saw every interaction on his show for what it was supposed to be, a chance to get his audience to laugh. So, while Craig never got the all-star attention I believe he rightfully deserved on air, it's amazing to look back at where it all started, and how the industry has evolved to be where it is now. Which is,
biggest
not great.
innovation for the iPhone X is it can recognize faces, which that's going to be a problem here in Los Angeles. We change our faces every 3 weeks or so.
The face-recognizing camera called Face ID, which is a great feature unless you live in Hollywood and you have to buy a new phone every time you buy a new face.
President Trump this morning denied there is chaos in the White House, tweeting, quote, "There is no chaos, only great energy." Well, if this president thing doesn't work out, he can always get a job writing fortune cookies.
There is no chaos, only great energy. I gotta say, man, if this whole president thing doesn't work out, Trump would be dope at writing fortune cookies, huh?
Spotify announced today it's removing R. Kelly's music from all of its curated playlists as part of an updated policy toward objectionable content and conduct by artists, which is rough for him because he's totally into streaming.
Spotify, Pandora, and Apple Music all announcing they would no longer promote Kelly's songs, removing them from their playlists, though fans can still search for them.
Yeah, that is the ultimate punishment for R. Kelly. No more streaming. Also,